When companies look externally, then they look for established leaders who know how to onboard themselves very quickly. Onboarding begins long before they join, so 2 to 3 months before they join the business. They have to meet not only shareholders, the board members, they've got to meet their team leaders, they've got to understand the business, especially if they come out of a different sector. So onboarding begins 2 to 3 months before they join, yeah? And it continues right on. And the chairman has the responsibility to make sure that the CEO is onboarded correctly for them to be successful. But if they come onto a strong leadership team, that makes it easier for them to succeed. If they come in and they don't have a strong leadership team, they're left to change the team. Onboarding takes time, and it may actually lead to a drop in profits and productivity. Any new leadership, any new appointment does lead to drop of activity for the team, because people try to figure out, are you coming up with a new strategy? Are you going to do things differently? And that slow in productivity does have a direct impact on profitability. That is why I say once again, internal promotions where good succession planning is in place, they transition a lot easier into leadership with the least disruption as possible.
And I think that applies to a publicly listed company or an unlisted business or even a family business. I think it's extremely important that the board supports the new CEO in what's often termed a listening tour. Don't talk, although investors will need to know a little bit about the background of this individual, but they'll be more interested in telling their side of the story. And so I think it's a really important thing that the new CEO spends time not only with investors, analysts, shareholders, executives, but a lot of time with the outgoing CEO, because the outgoing CEO can give some good advice around board dynamics, around the company history, around the company legacy, the subtext of the business rather than the things that are obvious. One thing that came up in an onboarding of a chief executive that we appointed in New Zealand from the UK was really interesting for me, and I thought a lot about this when we were preparing. New Zealand's quite different culturally, as your country is culturally different. Understanding the Maori legacy and the importance of the Maori language, te reo, as it's called, Maori culture, tikanga, is extremely important because CEOs are interacting, needing to understand protocols, needing to understand basic language. To mispronounce native language is not considered a good thing. You are expected to do your homework and be able to function on that level. So there are nuances too, I think, to particular cultures and particular countries when it comes to onboarding or preparing executives for their 5 years, if that's the case. I think it's important too to recognise the outgoing CEO, rather to listen, to be familiar with the cultural nuances that you're dealing with, but to recognise and praise, if it's appropriate, the outgoing CEO and the legacy that person has left wins you many brownie points in terms of the executive team that is left. And that's another really interesting point as far as the board's concerned. Once the new CEO is appointed, if it is an internal appointment, then there are going to be a lot of people disappointed who were being bred for the CEO role, to have one-on-ones with those people and, along with the new CEO, ensure that development plans are in place and that a new career path and an exciting career path is charted for those executives is extremely important as well.